Co-chair of the MNsure Legislative Oversight Committee, Representative Joe Atkins, joins me now to talk about some of the data privacy concerns with MNsure. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Let's begin with the meeting that kind of discussed what the breach was in data privacy, but more importantly, the bigger picture. Do you think that there might be some irreparable harm because of what happened as far as the credibility of MNsure to Minnesotans?
You know, I think actually I would never say that a data breach is a positive thing, but there was a great deal of learning that came out of it. One of the things that it identified was that the data breach came through the old-fashioned system of data protection, which is all full of human possibilities, human errors, and that sort of thing. And that was with respect to the agent and broker data, over 1,500 Social Security numbers from agents and brokers. And by the way, I personally apologize for it. I didn't have anything to do with it, but I really feel bad that it occurred. But transpose that against the protections that are going into place. That's what we heard about today for consumer data. It's the best IT, the most protective IT system that we will have at the state of Minnesota. They compared it to systems that protect private data for banks, and many other folks in the private sector as well.
With 1.3 Minnesotans expected to be a part of MNsure right away, are you confident that the systems are in place to protect all of their personal data?
Well, it's actually 1.3 million by 2016 is what the protection. I don't think we're going to see on October 1st 1.3 million Minnesotans sign up that very day, but I do anticipate that we'll have several 100,000 Minnesotans sign up over the course of time.
Well, thank you for clarifying, but are you confident?
And I'm much more confident today than I was even a week ago when I heard about this data breach. To have Mr. Busey from so-called Minnesota's IT protection, he's Minnesota's top data protection cop, and the assurances and the external reviews, the audits that were taking place, frankly, I didn't think that was going to happen until after it was up and running. They've already had external reviews, external audits coming in, being done now on the security systems to make sure that it'll work.
You're sounding very confident in the system as it goes forward. James Noble, the legislative auditor, he did caution everybody in that committee room to not be too confident that this issue is closed, that there are factors at MNsure that allowed the breach to occur. He doesn't want anybody to lose sight of these actions. So when the legislative auditor's report is released in a few weeks, do you anticipate that the legislature might have a role in tightening up any loopholes?
Well, I'll tell you, one thing I talked about today is we found out that they don't even need Social Security data for agents and brokers. And I indicated I intend to propose legislation in the 2014 session that says they can't have Social Security data. You can't leak what you don't have. And I would expect that we'll have bipartisan, hopefully bicameral support for that. But yeah, I look forward to seeing what Auditor Nobles comes up with, and we'll learn from that. And if that leads to legislation that better protects privacy, I'm all for it.
Senator Michelle Benson contends that there's just a systemic problem with MNsure's data intake process. Would you agree with this?
There's not a systemic problem. There was an individual incident, and that's what everybody that's looked at that specific incident, it was a single employee who took some data violating policies already in place at MNsure. It was supposed to be encrypted, and it was not supposed to be on an individual desktop computer. She did that. She sent that out as an attachment to an email. She made a terrible mistake. I'm not suggesting she did it intentionally wrong or anything like that. I know that she was let go from MNsure. She no longer works there. And it was a terrible error, but it's not a systemic. It was one individual that made a bad mistake. Now the key is to learn from that and make sure that that sort of thing, and that's what MNsure is doing now. They're going desktop by desktop. They're also making sure that the data is encrypted. But on top of that, you've got the IT protections that Mr. Busey spoke about today that are unmatched in state government. Nobody will have better protection of data than MNsure.
The threshold for doing this desktop to desktop checking, for lack of a better word, it's very short. MNsure launches in just over a week. So do you think that this could perhaps cause a delay in the launch, or do you think everything's set to the trigger set?
We asked today if there are any smoking guns, I think was the term that Mr. Busey, the IT professional, the data protection cop, used. If there's any smoking guns that would cause there to be any uncertainty or concern about private information being released, then it won't go on October 1st. It's just that simple. And that's the external auditors, our internal folks, all of the experts. If they're not comfortable with it, it won't go. But if they are, then I would expect, and I'm fully confident that they'll be able to get there by October 1st.
You helped craft the legislation for MNsure. You followed this process, I would imagine, intimately through its creation and now its soon-to-be implementation. How are you feeling with everything? Are you feeling confident? Are you, as we said off camera, you know that the nation is watching, eyes are watching.
I'm actually feeling better about it every day. One of the best news days that we had was when we found out that this will have the lowest rates of any health insurance marketplace in the country. My understanding is tomorrow, I don't know when this all gets shown, but that the federal rates are going to be released for all 50 states. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Minnesota will lead the nation in terms of having the lowest rates anywhere in the country.
What about with any of the technical aspects? Any concerns that the website will crash or that people won't be as trained as they should be to make sure that consumers can pick the right product?
Well, when you are as technically unsavvy as I am, anything like an iPad or a computer concerns me. But that's why you hire the professionals that you do. And from all that I hear, we've got the best folks involved, both at the state level and then externally coming in and taking a look at how we're doing business. To make sure that we've got those protections, to make sure that we've got the IT network in place to be able to handle it.
Okay. Representative Joe Atkins, thank you for coming in and talking
Pleasure.
about the meeting. We appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.